come to find out, Jeremy, actually getting Coach Prime, I guess that's what we're calling him now, not Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, into the fold at Colorado. Give us that story because it's a good one.
Well, I played a small role. I was a cog in the wheel. Rick George, the athletic director, deserves all the credit in the world. He did the hard part. But on October 2nd, when Carl Durrell was let go as the head coach, I called Rick and I said, Rick, we got to go get Prime. Because I felt like he was the only coach in the country that could restore the energy and bring 5-star recruits, 4-star recruits to Boulder. And that's no disrespect to any other coach in the country. There's a lot of really good ones, but he's special in that way. And when he got Travis Hunter to go to Jackson State, who had offers from Georgia, LSU, Alabama, I said, wow, this guy's special. So Rick and I chatted about it. And I reached out to Steve Smith, a good friend of mine, former Carolina Panther, great receiver, who's a very good friend with Deion. I said, Steve, help us get Deion. And so he put in the call, and I made the assist, made the introduction, and then Rick took care of the rest. And couldn't be more thrilled for CU Nation.
Were you surprised that Sanders jumped? I don't want to say jumped at the opportunity. Obviously, he would have other options. But are you surprised that it came together as nicely and as efficiently and quickly as it did?
I was surprised for two reasons. Number one, Prime's from Florida, lived in Texas and Mississippi. Those are really warm weather climates. Colorado was way off of his map. With the snow that we have here and the cold weather, I thought that was going to be a barrier to entry. The other thing we had going against us was we were a one-win team. And we were a team that for the better part of the last 2 decades have not really been competitive, certainly on a national level. And here's a guy that turned around Jackson State, coming off 2 conference championships, getting a ton of buzz in the SEC. And so would he want to wait another year to get that job at Auburn or whatever would open back up? So I knew it was an uphill battle, but I knew also 2 things. One, he respected Steve Smith a lot. And I also called Brandon Marshall, Myron Roll, and Sean Merriman. I was going through the whole Rolodex. But I also knew another thing. Rick George is one of the most infectious personalities you'll ever meet. He's one of the best negotiators you'll ever meet. I said from day one when he raised enough money for the Champion Center, he's the best AD in the country. I believe that. And so I knew that if he was given the opportunity and Prime took this opportunity seriously, that Rick would probably find a way to get it done. But I do think it was an uphill battle, and Rick just handled it in a masterful way.
As we look at it now in retrospect, and that's only a couple of days, it almost seems now, as you look back on it, like a perfect confluence. You had Colorado, who needed something desperately to pump life back into a once proud program, and a coach on the climb that maybe some other more quote-unquote established successful programs might not be willing to take a chance on. Do you see it that way?
I think you nailed it. I've been thinking about that intersection for the last few days, and I think you articulated that point extremely well. And I do think that that's part of the reason. And I think one of the reasons that Auburn didn't really give Prime a chance is because of what you said. And when you're a team that's nationally competitive almost every year, and you're not in a form of desperation like the University of Colorado was, you're willing to risk less. Your aptitude for risk goes down. And when you're a program on the ropes that's got kind of a flat heartbeat and not a lot of attention and not a lot of notoriety, and you're losing a lot of games, you're willing to take bigger risks. But I was really impressed with what Prime said at the press conference. I mean, not only does he have a lot of confidence in himself and players want to play for him, but he wants to do the right things. I mean, he wants the players at Colorado to be opening doors for people, saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, not wearing hats in the meeting rooms, taking off the jewelry, taking off cell phone. He's an old school disciplinarian coach. And we have not had a form of disciplinarian coaches at Colorado since Gary Barnett. And I think especially in the culture of Boulder, it's extraordinarily important to have a team that is very well disciplined.
Maybe not getting as much attention because obviously Prime can suck all the light out of the room. He's just that kind of guy, so dynamic. But there are 2 other elements here really at play that I think are huge. First of all, it was CU's administration all of a sudden now being willing to move off the academic requirements needed to be able to transfer in. This is a huge, huge change in their stance.
This is a big deal, and you were at K-State, so you know this. But one of the reasons back in the day that K-State became a prominent program and competitive on a national level is they lowered the academic standards for the players in which that could go to K-State. And so you saw a lot of the junior college transfer kids who couldn't make it academically in other cases in other universities get a chance at K-State. And you know what? Good for them, because a lot of those kids, guess what? They graduated. They got that college degree. And so why not take an opportunity to somebody that doesn't have the GPA that could get into maybe Stanford, some of these other universities, and say, you know what, Colorado's the place for you. You're going to have a great head coach. You're going to have a great coaching staff. We're going to compete for Pac-12 titles. We're going to compete on a national level, and you're going to get a great education. So I thought that by the chancellor, that was a great move by the chancellor and the president of the University of Colorado to make sure that, you know, we're bringing in the right kids.
I thought it was also interesting that all three of the principals referred to in one way or the other NIL and the importance now moving forward with NIL. My God, I'm talking to the poster child of NIL. But here we go now. It's a little bit of the Wild West, but here is where we start to move forward now. The importance of NIL as we move forward, Jeremy, and as you maybe envisioned it all of those years fighting so valiantly for it.
You know, NIL is just corporate endorsements, and corporate endorsements play a role in every major sporting league in this world. In fact, the college level was just the final remaining frontier for endorsements to enter into. And so this is a wheel that's been built before. You're right, we're in the Wild Wild West phase. We're in the forming stage. There will be some, hopefully, common sense rules that help protect the kids, help protect the organizations. I hope the NCAA doesn't set those, because they'll send us back to where we were. But look, these kids are human beings, and they deserve the right to have endorsement dollars just like you or me or anybody else who has a special talent and wants to endorse a product. And so we've leveled the playing field there. It's great to see college athletes have that benefit now. A lot of these kids are not going to go pro. And if they can make a couple $1,000s, because by and large, for the most part, that's kind of what it is. Not everybody's making the $1 million. And why not? You know, they can take their girlfriend out to a nice dinner and buy themselves a car, or whatever the case may be. But to your point, it challenges the administration. It challenges some coaches. You have a transfer portal that, by the way, right now is lighting up for CU, perhaps more than ever. You know, I think it's fun and exciting. It's changed. Some people don't like it. I know it's harder on coaches because it's harder to keep talent. But that's kind of how it works in the real world. You know, if you have a company, you can't just keep employees around by saying you're stuck here. They can leave any point in the day and go somewhere else. And by the way, coaches can do the same thing. So I think players deserve the same benefit.
All right. Finally, the ability to flip a program now has never been easier. You
Correct.
Still got to do it well. You still have to take care of checking the boxes and crossing your T's and dotting your I's. But the opportunity is there. Everyone's excited about Prime, but it's, I think, what Prime can do in terms of immediately making Colorado relevant. He's already done that through the transfer portal. Now it becomes a question of how quickly they can become competitive. Why not next year?
Well, you got to look at history here. In the history of the University of Colorado, we've successfully recruited out of high school 3 5-star talents. 3. That's not a lot. The program's been around for 100 years. And I mentioned Travis Hunter. Well, he's a 5-star. He's coming to Boulder. And just the other day, Winston Watkins Jr. out of Florida, one of the top recruits, he's a sophomore, committed to the University of Colorado because he wants to be coached by Prime. So we're already seeing, and by the way, after the press conference, I got to hang out with Prime and his family. He was on the phone with Colorado kids, back-to-back, 4-stars that have already committed, said, when am I getting in front of you? And bring your parents, because once you get in front of me, it's over. It's over. You're coming here. So he's on the phones. He's making those calls. He and his staff are going to do everything they possibly can to bring talent to bowl those 4- and 5-star kids. And if they do, there's absolutely no reason that this team can't compete for a Pac-12 championship next year, immediately, and be on the national scene.
Jeremy, can't tell you how much I appreciate your time and your insight. More than anything else, though, your patience with this whole process and how it's played out. You're to be commended for it.
Hey, you know what? All of us CU fans have had to have a high degree of patience. So we all deserve this moment, and it's going to be exciting.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Go Buffs.
All right, you got it. See you, Jeremy.
See ya.